Hello and welcome. This is Dee from crystalcraftswithdee. I'm a bit echoey today because I'm filming in my laundry room, but I am going to do a little bit of an experiment today with my resin, and I'm just going to make a coaster because I want to sort of just play around with this idea. So I have all my bits and pieces set out, and what I am going to do is if it all works out, I'm going to do a layer of black resin in the bottom of this coaster. So I've got this mold from Kmart and I have used it before and it works really good. So I'm just going to do maybe I just need a bottom layer of black resin, and I'm going to add a little bit of this really micro sort of glitter. And then I'm going to let that cure overnight, and then tomorrow I will come back and I will do my little bits and pieces and pour some clear resin over the top and then let that cure overnight. And then the next day I will come back again and hopefully it will all turn out perfect. Yay! So my idea is, and this isn't my idea, it is, I have seen someone do something like this before. But I'm just going to do a little bit of a different take on it, and I want to experiment a bit. So I'm going to do my black resin, and then what I'm going to do is when I come back tomorrow, I'm going to do some clear resin, and I'm going to put this the little seeds from the dandelion on top of the dried black resin, and then pour the clear over top. So I've got a little bit of a design in mind, and that's kind of what I'm gonna hopefully do. So I'm sort of hoping that if I do like in one corner have like a bunch of them and then sort of have a few of them floating up to the top. That's kind of my idea. We'll see what happens. I won't know till I get in there as to how easy or how hard this is going to be. So anyway, first things first, I'll just show you what I've gotten together. So I have my little dandelion. So I'll pop him out of the way so I don't bump him. So I have my mold that is nice and clean. I have my little silicone cups. Now I've gone ahead and I have mixed up my resin, so I'm just letting that sit there for a moment to let those little bubbles come out. I have my little popsicle sticks that I will use to mix it up. I have some tweezers which I will be using to pick those little seeds up. This glitter I got from just a $2 store, and I have my resin. So I am going to use up the rest of my craft resin that I got from Kmart. So I've just used it all up. I'll just show you here. There we go. You've got a part A and a part B. Now this was not very expensive at all, and I used it on a couple other projects, and I'm really happy with it actually. So if you wanted to have a go at doing resin and you don't want to spend a lot of money, I highly recommend checking out Kmart. Hopefully the Kmart in your country has these bits and pieces, but here in Australia they do. And I got my mold from there as well. So yeah, so this one is a 2-to-1 mixing resin. You've got your part A resin, part B hardener. So I've mixed in, what did I mix in? 20 mils of part A and then 10 mils of part B, and I've stirred all that up. So I'll just pop him over to the side because he's all finished. And I've just stirred him up, and that's why he's just sitting there so I can get rid of little bubbles. And I have my little spoon, and I have just some resin pigment powder. I got this one off of Amazon, and I've just got a few different colors there, and I'm just going to use the black. So there you go. Got all my bits and pieces together. I am wearing gloves, very important. I am in a well ventilated area, which is my laundry room, and I do have the window cracked, so if you do hear some noise, that is why. Now what I'm going to do is clear a lot of this stuff out of the way so I can work. So I'm going to move them out. I don't need the sticks anymore. And I do have like some other molds sitting by if I have any leftover resin, which I probably won't because I want to sort of get as much in there as possible. Yeah, so it's good to kind of use up the rest of your resin. So I'm just going to Get in here. This is the first time I've used these pigments, the mica powder, so I have no idea if they're going to be any good or not. Right. Get those out of the road. And I don't need my tweezers today. Now, so what I'm doing is I've got my clear resin in here, and then I'm going to pour some into this little cup and then mix it up as I go. And that way I don't have a whole big jug full of a color I don't really want a great big full jug of. So I'm going to get that out of the way. Get him over. Now make sure I'm on screen. That would be useful. Alright, so I have my powder here, and I'm just going to, and I want it fairly dark. I don't really want to see through it too much, so less amount in first, mix it in, and then if it's not enough, then I will put more in. And I will just put that lid on just in case I spill it, which is what I do. And here we go. So I'm just going to mix that in carefully. I want to make sure it's completely mixed in. No clumps. That's looking good so far, so I'll keep stirring and I'll come back again. Okay, so I've given that a really good stir, and that's looking pretty good. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Just make sure I get those bits off the side. And then I'm just going to pop that there. And I will zoom you in while I do this. So I'll just zoom you in a bit. In we go. That's better. And then I'm just going to pour it straight in my mold. Doesn't matter how it goes in. I will probably have to stir some more in there. Yep, I'll need to make some more. That is fine. And the good thing about this sort of stuff is that you can go along and make more as you need to. It's not that big of a deal. I don't mind if they're two different blacks sort of thing. Alright, we'll just go in and do this. Pop a little bit more in, make another batch. Just do a teeny bit more. There we go, and then I'll stir all that up again. Where's my stick? So like I said, this is a little bit of an experimentation. I haven't used the powders before, so I want to use them, and I want to try this dandelion effect because I think it'll look pretty darn awesome. And by having the background black, I'm hoping that it will, you know, just kind of highlight those little seeds. Now for this one, I'm actually going to put a little bit of, let me just spread him out a little bit. I want to put a little bit of glitter in it. Whoops, I don't want that on there. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of glitter in there because I want just a teeny bit of a sparkle in that black. Not too much because I don't want it to take away from what I'm doing. So I'm just going to add a teeny bit of this in, and it goes everywhere when I do it. There we go. I'll mix that in. Ooh, it's going to be so pretty. Oops. And I do apologize, my light's going to keep changing and changing because the sun's going behind the clouds, coming back out again, going behind the clouds. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm trying not to make bubbles in this, but we'll see what happens. And I'm just going to swirl it in like that. And we go. And I'm happy with that coverage, so that's sort of full enough for me. There we go. So I like how you've got that little bit of a flick going on there with the glitter. That looks really good. I'm super happy with that. There, I'm happy with that, and you can see the reflection from the window, but sorry about that. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that sit for tonight, and then I will come back again and put a little bit of clear resin and do my little design on that on top. So I'm going to let this cure, and then I'll come back tomorrow and we'll finish her off. Okay, so I've let that cure up overnight, probably about 36 hours I've done this. Look how glossy that is. I don't mind that the glitter is clumped in the middle. It's sort of kind of adds to the effect, and that is nice and hard. It's beautiful and glossy, and I just had to wipe that off because I accidentally dumped some fluff on the top just before. But so you can see how I've got it kind of half full with that black, and then all I'm going to do now is add those dandelion seeds to this, and then with some clear resin, and hopefully it'll work. So all I'm going to do is I've got my resin set up. I have, so it's already mixed up, ready to go. I have my gloves on, and I have my little dandelion seeds. And what I was thinking is just sort of adding a little bit of resin to where I want to place it so that they stay in their place and not move around too much when I pour the clear resin in. I was just going to pour the clear resin in, but I don't want those little bits sticking up. So anyway, it's a work in progress. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't try this at home. Anyway, so what I'm just going to do is just sort of add a little bit of resin to where I want to add a lot of these guys. So I want to sort of have like a group of the seeds down here, and then just kind of have them sprinkle up is kind of what I'm thinking. But of course, who knows what's going to happen. Alright, and I'm just going to sort of bring them over one by one. And what I like about having the black behind it is it hopefully will amplify or make them sort of stand out a bit. So I'm just trying to do my little clumps. And hopefully this works, because I really want it to. So I don't really mind where these guys go. And then sort of as it kind of floats up, I want them to be a little bit more visible. Like I'm going to be a little bit more particular about the placement. I've got lots of these little guys, so oops, it's stuck. Alright, now I'm pulling them off. That did not work. Get off. Alright. So I've just gotten those guys off because they weren't cooperating. There we go. So that's kind of my idea, and then I'm just going to have them kind of float up as I go. Some down the bottom here. Gee, it's fiddly. I think it'll be worth it. I'm going to kind of just have it sort of float up a bit. Like so. They They're so delicate, aren't they? I love dandelions. Alright, I'm happy with that. I'm just going to kind of balance it with putting a little bit on the sides there. So maybe like a floating one up there. See if I can grab one without grabbing them all. Kind of like so. Gosh, they're really hard to control. Okay. Maybe another one. Maybe have him go the other way. I don't have any resin there. How's that? So I just want it kind of simple. And then hopefully this is going to work. Because what I have in my head and what actually happens are two totally different things. And then what I'm going to do is just sort of start pouring this over top. I'm just going to do it slowly because I don't want to move them around. And I also want any air bubbles that are around to kind of release up. I don't mind if they move a little bit, that's okay. And I'm just going to make sure that I coat all of this. And make sure that all of those pieces are actually covered in resin. So what I might have to do is come back and dome it later. I'm just going to stop there. That's not too bad. I'm sorry, it is a bit glary. Just because everything's black. But I'm pretty happy with that. I want it to be pretty delicate. So there's some of their little arms sticking out. And I've left a little bit of room to come back and dome it if necessary. So if there's any of these little bits sticking out, like that, his little arms there. At least if I dome it, it'll... And doming is just adding an extra little layer on the top to give it a nice even finish. So I think that'll be okay. And if those little arms stick up, I'll poke them in as it dries, but I think I will have to dome it. So I've got enough room for that. Right, and I'm just going to let that sit for a bit and cure up. This little guy's done a runner. Yeah, so I'm just going to let that cure up now, and then what I will do is come back and just dome that top a bit just to make sure I've got all those little pieces covered in resin. So I'm going to let that sit now and cure up for another 24 hours, and then I will dome it, and then I'll come back to you and we will demold it and see how it turned out. Okay, so I'm all finished. I've done my just doming part of my coaster. That's all done, and I had a little bit left over, so I've just mixed in a little bit of mica powder and pigments, and just sort of put some dried flowers in there and some of the little those little dandelion seeds I put in there, some glitter, and then some dried flowers in there. So I just had a little bit left over, and I thought, well, I might just pop that in there and see how that turns out. Now, so I will first off demold my coaster, and it is very reflective. I do apologize, but hopefully you can see I'm really happy with how this turned out. I added like a little sprinkling of like a dusting of that glitter just because I want a little bit of color in there. There wasn't a lot of color, and I just used just a teeny bit of that fine sort of green glitter just to kind of, just to kind of liven it up a bit, but I think that looks really good. So time to demold. Now there were a couple little bubbles on the top surface. I don't know if you can see that there. That doesn't bother me at all. Really happy with this resin actually. It's got a really nice, lovely, glossy feel to it. And that is it there. Wow. That's amazing. So I did the first layer black, then I let that cure, and then I placed my little dandelion seeds, and then covered that with clear resin, and then I just domed the top of it so it goes all the way to the top. I'm super duper happy with that. So even though this is a coaster, I probably won't be using it as a coaster. I'll probably use it as like just a piece to sort of either hang up, or you know, you can get those little plate stands, you know, when you get those decorative plates. I'll probably get one of those little stands and then just plunk him on there. I just think that turned out really, really pretty. Very, very happy with that. It's just got like a couple of little where it sort of went over the mold, just a teeny bit edges there, and I'll just go ahead and sand that and make that just a little bit smoother. But I love how this turned out. I love that resin. It is absolutely gorgeous, from Harry and Wilma. Really good quality resin. I will definitely be getting more of that, and you can get it in all different sizes. So that turned out amazing. I absolutely love it. Alrighty, and we will demold. I'll pop in there. We'll demold these little guys. So this mold I got from Spotlight. It's just a standard jewelry making mold. And I'll just take him out of there. So that's, oh, that's quite pretty, isn't it? That just has a glitter in it and just some of that pink mica powder in there. Oh, I'm really happy with that. And it's good because it's already automatically got the hole in there, which I really, really love. That's quite pretty. And then I might do this one. So this one I just pressed some flowers just in between two pieces of copy paper, and yep, and then a couple of weeks. It's nice and flat. So that's one side. I love that sort of glittery, sort of translucent effect. And that's the other side. So it just depends on what side you want. I think I'll use that one. I actually was going to pop those little bubbles, but I quite liked where they were placed, so I just kind of left them in there. But normally I would just sort of run the flame over it just to make sure that those pop, but I quite like that. Yeah, so it just depends on what side you like. Quite pretty. And then the last one, I put the dandelion seeds in, and then I just had a little bit of that pink left, and I just sort of did blotches in one side of the mold, just for something different. Well, I'm done with that. You can get out of the way. And that's it there. Oh, that's really pretty. Oh, I love that. Gee, that turned out really nice. And that's just your dandelion seeds, clear resin, and then I just kind of dripped a couple of drips of the pink resin. But that turned out beautiful. And again, it can be either way, but I love that. Oh, that is so pretty. Absolutely gorgeous. And this resin is just amazing. So there you go. That is my finished product of that absolutely gorgeous coaster. Love that. And there's my little bits and pieces that I did with the leftover resin. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm super impressed with that. Love this resin. And yeah, just a different kind of idea of using sort of different stuff to put in your resin. And I mean, it cost you nothing because it was just the dandelion seeds. They're available pretty much everywhere. And I like how it's sort of a 3D effect. So some of them are right to the bottom and some of them are floated up a little bit to the top. And I'm really happy with that, and a little spattering of glitter as well. So super duper happy with this resin pour. So I'd like to thank you very much for watching my video, and I will catch you next time. Bye!